press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello children. Our discussion as usual which has been going so far is with respect to biomolecules. So we are discussing biomolecules. So this will be part 8. Clear? So what we discussed yesterday was with respect to amino acids. And in terms of the projection of amino acids, what did I mention out was that most of the amino acids have S configuration. S, R and S, I said these are absolute configurations around chiral carbon, and in the amino acid language we call that as C alpha, alpha amino acid. Correct. And in according to Fischer projection we have clearly mentioned out, and besides that we have got cysteine. What is the side chain of cysteine? CH2SH. Now cysteine configuration of cysteine with respect to the stereocenter is which one? R. Most of the amino acids, as I said, are in the S configuration. You can have a side chain, as I mentioned as already. So we have a side chain R, which can be made up of different groups, and even inside chain there may be different stereocenters attached to oxygens or other atoms. In amino acid chemistry, the 4 important atoms on the basis of which S, R and S configuration is decided are hydrogen, we have oxygen, we have nitrogen, and in cysteine where disulfide linkages are developed, in cysteine the side chain is S. So these are the atoms which we need to take into priority. So naturally we have that S has more priority than N, which has more priority than O, N, S. So S has more priority than O, which has more priority than N, which has more priority than H. But in amino acids, when you find out the links on alpha carbon, it is via carbon or it is via nitrogen, right? So with this carbon, there can be some other atoms attached. So we need to find out the point of difference according to which calculation? CIP, which I told you yesterday. So if atomic number doesn't help, we need to search for atomic mass. If atomic mass also is not helping, then you need to find out the first line of difference. Why did I mention that all the configurations which you have, absolute configurations in alpha amino acids, what is the amino acid existing in naturally existing amino acids which are available? They are happening in which configuration? I mentioned out. So they are happening in which configuration? L configuration. And we mentioned out very clearly this L and D in case of amino acids is decided on the basis of which amino acid? Serine. In which, like aldehyde, which we have CHO, then OH and H, then you have CH2OH. In serine also, what do we have is, we have C alpha, then you have COOH, then we know we should mention NH2 according to the Fischer projection. NH2 should be mentioned on the left side. Then on the right side, what do we mention always? Hydrogen. In denomination, there be means downwards, the bond going away will be R for us. And this R in serine is made up of CH2OH. You can have a look on the anomaly here, children. You can see here. So, to the chiral center of which molecule? Glyceraldehyde. And you can see the serine. There is a similarity between the two for the presence of which group? CH2OH. So, around this chiral center, if NH2 is on the left side, it will be which one? L. And if NH2 is on the right side, that will be D. But naturally happening amino acids do exist in which configuration? L configuration. That means NH2 will be present on which side? Left side. So suppose I can change this out and I can write down OH and H. This is which glyceraldehyde? L or D? This is L glyceraldehyde. And optical activity we know is varying depending upon the experimental observations. How does it rotate the plane of polarized light? So that is a different discussion that we have to take into consideration. Am I clear so far? Very good. So most of the amino acids do exist. In which configuration? S absolute configuration, except that of cysteine, which is existing in which one? R. What is the reason for that cysteine exhibiting in R configuration? Is quite simple to understand. And I made it clear yesterday as well. What is the group here? So we have carboxylic acid, correct or not? Technically attached to what? Alpha carbon. Then you have got NH2 group. Then you have attachment of which one? Hydrogen. Then you have side chain, which is CH2SH is there. Got it? Now we have seen here, according to Fisher projection, whenever you show it, maybe you might have some confusions coming to play from yesterday's class. I'm clearing those confusions here. So this is the chiral center for us. These are represented by minus. These two bonds are represented plus. These are vertical bonds and these are horizontal bonds. Horizontal bonds means the bond is going away from you. Sorry, bond is coming towards you. So these two bonds are coming towards you out of screen, and these two bonds are going away from you. And in priority calculations, in priority rules, we have a basic rule: the most oxidized carbon should be on the top. If you don't want to rotate the molecule, let me solve this problem forever. If you don't want to rotate the molecule and you want to name the molecule as such, give the priority. So first of all, if you give priority here, nitrogen directly attached to carbon, atomic number is 7. Yes, atomic number here is 6. Carbon, I will break it off. It is attached to oxygen, which is attached to O and H. Here, carbon attached to carbon. Here also carbon to carbon. So direct link between carbon. Here carbon is to oxygen. There carbon is to sulfur. So you got a point of difference very clear here. So this gets priority. So this will get number 2 on the whole. On the whole you have to see. And naturally this gets number 3 and this gets number 4. Forget about hydrogen here. I am not rotating the molecule. Otherwise we know the lowest priority group should be going away from you, right? So you have to put this lowest priority group in the vertical bond. Over here it should be present by rotations. I am not rotating. I am giving you a simple hand rule on the basis of which you can find out R and S configuration very easily without any rotations. Now this is number 1, number 2, number 3. I will forget about this hydrogen itself. I will not take hydrogen into consideration itself. What did I mention? This cysteine is which configuration containing? R. Most of the amino acids are in which configuration? S. But cysteine is the one which is in which configuration? R. What's the reason for that? Let us say, let us represent this alpha and these 3 atoms by 3 circles. Means in the plane, because when there is a tetrahedral geometry present, 3 bonds will be like making a planar structure. You can understand it this way, children, as I mentioned yesterday. 1, 2, 3, 4. These 3 are making a base. So this one is projected out. Yes. So if I turn the molecule upside down, you will find out one bond like this. One this way, one this way, one this way. So a triangular plane face is completed and one bond is going away from you. Now this is here. One here, one here, one here. Now you can see, you can either move clockwise or anti-clockwise. So depending upon the priority, when you are moving clockwise in terms of priority 1, 2, 3, from 1 to 2 to 3, if you are moving from 1 to 2 to 3 in clockwise direction, it will be R configuration, otherwise it will be S. Let's have a look here. So which group is here? We have COOH, this is third one, and here we have got NH2, this is first priority, and here got CH2SH, this is second priority. Now have a look on the configuration. So when you move from highest to lowest priority, means from lowest number to highest number, keep it in mind, priority number and priority are different. This has highest priority but lowest number. Yes. So when you rotate the molecule, when you move through, it will be in which configuration? Clockwise or anti-clockwise? It is anti-clockwise. So technically it seems S, but actually it is which one? R, because I have not given the rotations to the molecule at all. I have not brought hydrogen to the position where it should be. Remember that this should be the actual Fisher projection. Hydrogen and NH2 are shown on horizontal bonds, and the other atoms like carboxylic acid and side chain will be shown on the vertical bonds respectively in a alpha carbon, in an amino acid. Am I clear? Or am I clear? So actually it comes S, but actually it is R. Let us do some rotations here. So I'll mention down this one. Let us do some rotations here, children. Which one is it? Carboxylic acid. So this is on the top, nothing to worry about. NH2 is on the left, nothing to worry about. Now you have hydrogen here, and you have which group here? Side chain in the form of CH2SH. Now if I rotate the molecule, I should get R configuration in practice, actual practice. Let us see. This is set as such. This is planar structure. I showed the 3 bonds a while earlier. So this becomes almost a planar structure of 120-degree angle for us. Yes or no? So I will rotate the molecule now. So hydrogen will come at the place of what? So first priority, let me represent in terms of the priorities for it. 1, 2, 3, and hydrogen gets what priority? 4. This should be going away from you. In terms of bond, it should be going away. Alright. So in order to show this away, I will rotate the molecule. It will come here by 120 degrees. This will come here, and this will go here. Correct or not? So what will be the new structure that I will get now? Tell me. What's a new structure I am getting from it after rotation? So after I have rotated it, what's a new structure I am getting? Let's have a look. So you have COOH. What is the priority for that? 3rd. Okay. Then NH2 as usual. No, sorry. When the rotation is done, NH2 will come here, right? After rotations. So one is it's not a new molecule. In order to name, in order to give it absolute configuration, you need to bring hydrogen in this place, right? So you can do 3 rotations. If you do this way rotation, anti-clockwise rotation, then you have to do 2 120-degree rotations. First one, hydrogen will come here. Then second one, then hydrogen will come here. Again, it will be same thing, right? Because if you do double rotation, first hydrogen will come here, then here. NH2 will come here, then here. Got it? Oh, got it or not? So direct rotation, if I do hydrogen by 120-degree rotation, it will come directly at CH2O place, this way. If I do it this way, it will be three system rotations coming into play. Right? Keep it in mind, in JE, they will ask questions in this pattern only. They won't give you a direct amino acid in different configurations. Maybe wedges and dashes will be given to you. You need to see not only hydrogen, it's not with respect to hydrogen. Lowest priority group. Suppose around the chiral center we have chlorine, fluorine, bromine and iodine. This is the chiral center. And if you are asked what is the absolute configuration around the chiral center, then fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Iodine will be number 1. Bromine will be number 2, chlorine will be number 3, right? And fluorine will get the 4th number. This is the lowest priority. So rotations and arrangement should be such that fluorine is going away from you. So this should be going away from Weaver. And then you need to see whether clockwise or anti-clockwise. Because children, around tetrahedral geometry, it is not possible to touch all the 4 points, means all the 4 bonds in the structure without picking your pen up. You can touch only 3 points at a time, not the 4th one. That's why we are sending the 4th one away from the Weaver, so that we can see whether clockwise or anti-clockwise movement is to be done in order to show the arrangement. Clear? Now once the rotations are done, what will come here? Hydrogen. NH2, once the rotation has been done, NH2 will go here or not? And what will come at this place? It will be side chain of serine, that is CH2OH. Now, let's have a look on this. Now, don't change the name. Whatever the name now you are getting, that's the actual name. Because you have not done any arrangement in such a way that hydrogen is not at the position, or lowest priority group is not at a position where it's expected to be. So this is 4th, right? This is 1. After rotation, what does this become? Sorry, not CH2SH, CH2SH in cysteine. Correct or not? This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Now, this is going away from Weaver or not? Now have a look. How am I going? It's clockwise or anti-clockwise? It is clockwise. So if you can break it away and it's going away from you, so we'll have positions like this. So that bond is going away from you. This is which one? Hydrogen. Here which one? COOH. This is going away from you. Here which one? NH2. And here which one? CH2SH. Right or not? Now have a look. You are going in anti-clockwise direction or clockwise direction. Have a look, children. NH2COH. So this is anti-clockwise, but you have, this is first one, this will be second one, this will be third one. So you are going in clockwise direction. That's why I mentioned, children, cysteine has got which absolute configuration? R or S? R. While as all naturally existing amino acids will be having which configuration? S. Anywhere you are able to draw. So in carbohydrates also you can name it now, children. So if you have stereocenters, if you have carbohydrates with 2 stereocenters, suppose you have fructose that is having 4 stereocenters. So around those stereocenters, if you want to write the name in terms of absolute configuration, that should be easier now. Alright. So from here you can discuss there also. What is the absolute configuration of carbons? R and S system of nomenclature. What is the arrangement? What is the absolute configuration? Around the chiral centers. Oh, yes or no? I hope I am clear with the statement. Maybe in yesterday's class you might have got confused with respect to RS system of nomenclature for amino acids. That's why I have discussed it here. Pattern has been discussed. Is it clear or not? Now it should be clear. So lastly, I would like to say about this, children, that whenever you are showing an amino acid, okay, so whenever you are showing an amino acid, make sure representation will be like this. Here it should be hydrogen. On the left hand side it should be NH2. On the top there should be COOH, and at the bottom there should be side chain. These 2 bonds are going away and these 2 bonds are coming towards us. So you can mention this also by means of wedges, right? And these can be shown by what lines? Dashed lines. It's the basic thing. But when we are showing proteins, there we won't take care of all these things. If you want to show 3-dimensional structure there, that's one thing. But we will just take care of the bond formations, how exactly the proteins are to be represented. We'll show all the things one by one. Did you get amino acids clear? Am I clear or not? Excellent. Let's move forward, children. Good, excellent. Now this was the absolute configuration with respect to the chiral center in alpha amino acids. Why they are called as alpha amino acids? We have discussed the reason for that as well. Correct. Now children, what are the different chemical reactions? So we will write down chemical properties. Chemical properties of amino acids. When you look on the properties, when you look on first of all, or we'll write not chemical property, we'll write properties of amino acids. In this physical and chemical we'll talk about. When you look on melting and boiling points of amino acids, AA, as I mentioned yesterday, I'll mention that it is almost 300 degrees centigrade, which is extremely high. So they have high melting and boiling points. Compared to the same molecular mass containing organic compounds, which are usually found in the liquid or gaseous state at room temperatures, you can find out these amino acids having high melting point, they are showing the properties similar to that of salts. And these amino acids are found in solid state. When you look on these in solid state, you will easily understand that the intermolecular forces existing between amino acids are quite strong. However, when you look on the basic amino acid, we see, when you look on the basic structure of amino acid, we see a carboxylic group is there and an amine group is there. Then you got hydrogen and then you got a side chain which can vary. I'll write down side chain R. All these properties of this are explained by the presence of this amino acid in the form of a hybrid ion, which actually in German language is called as Zwitter ion. What we call this as Zwitter ion. Ion which is hybrid. Hybrid means what? Hybrid means a dual character having. You can see that there is a carboxylic group and NH2 group. This can act as a basic group. This is technically a base and this is acid. The properties of high melting and boiling points of these amino acids are explained on the basis of this amino acid is existing in solid state. That means intermolecular forces are extremely strong like that of salt. So salt has positive and negative charges on it, wherein the intermolecular forces will lead to high lattice enthalpies of different salts, and we know that lattice energy is directly proportional to charge and inversely proportional to R. When you look on these amino acids, they are also found in the form of hybrid ion. That is, they are found in dipolar form in solid state as well as in aqueous medium. In aqueous medium, they are mostly found in dipolar state. And it depends upon the pH of the medium also. What is the pH of the medium? On the basis of that also, we can say what exactly will be the charge present on a particular amino acid. So, amino acids are found as dipolar ions in aqueous medium or in solid state. Because many a times I'm getting the comments like, sir, write big. You need to focus on to things anyway, we need to write big for your understanding. That's important part actually. Okay. So when this is converted, an amino acid in acidic medium or in solid state also, it's found in the dipolar ion called as Zwitter ion. So what is the structure of that Zwitter ion? Let us see. We have C alpha, then you got COOH, then as usual I mentioned we have NH2, then you have hydrogen, and then you have side chain R. On the basis of side chain R, we have different amino acids coming to play, right? We can have hydrophobic amino acids, hydrophilic amino acids, acidic, basic or neutral amino acids. So amino acids having polar R, amino acids having non-polar R, amino acids having charged R, that is where there is addition of COO minus or addition of NH2 groups respectively. So there is an intramolecular protonation and deprotonation process. Intermolecular protonation and deprotonation process will occur, and it will result in the formation of equilibrium is more towards that dipolar ion. That means in most of the cases, in maximum states, at maximum periods of time, this amino acid is found in the dipolar state. So what will happen is nitrogen having a lone pair of electron, and in this case carboxylic acid will generate it here, C double bond O, OH. Now this oxygen is more electronegative, charge on this oxygen is slightly plus. So the lone pair of electron will come and attack on H plus. It will accept this proton. So protonation, deprotonation process will lead to C alpha, COO minus carboxylate ion. Then you get NH3 plus, that's called as aminium ion. We'll use the general broad language word for that. Okay, so NH3 plus, then you have got hydrogen, then you got side chain. So in this amino acid you have plus charge on NH3 and minus charge on CO minus. Now this COO minus can interact with NH3 plus of other amino acid molecule, and NH3 can interact with COO minus of other amino acid molecule, leading to intermolecular forces, which are salt-like only, right? So these strong intermolecular force between different amino acids will develop electrostatic forces, and due to that their lattice enthalpies will be extremely high. This explains why they have high boiling, melting and boiling points. And obviously, naturally, because they do contain charge, they are highly soluble in mediums. So they are highly soluble in medium, water, aqueous medium. But in organic solvent, their solubility is very less. Am I clear? There in carbohydrates we learned, if there is solubility of carbohydrates in the water, it is due to what? Hydrogen bonding. Yes? Clear? Good. Now further going forward, children, so what is the basic structure of a dipolar Zwitter ion now? Zwitter ion will be now C alpha, then COO minus, then you got NH3 plus, then you got H, then you got R. Now I have a question. If a reaction is to be shown by any amino acid, as I mentioned, most of the time amino acids are in Zwitter ion form. So if the reactions are to be shown, there is COO minus and there is NH3 plus. But now this COO minus is not an acid, it is a conjugate base. And NH3 plus is not now the base, it's a conjugate acid. So NH3 will determine what? Acidic properties, right or not? And COO minus will represent which properties? Basic properties. So technically, children, because they are conjugate acids and bases, we cannot say, because they are conjugate acid bases, we cannot say the acid and base, we cannot say a general strong acid and a general strong base. No, because we know if the acid was strong, then conjugate base will be weak conjugate base. Correct or not? So strong acid has weak conjugate base. Weak base has strong conjugate acid. And we know in equilibrium very properly, we can use which equation? HH equation called as Henderson and Hasse-Balch equation. And what is the statement of that? pH equals to pKa plus log of salt by acid, so on and so forth. Or salt by base, depending upon it is POH for a base. Or correct or not? We have done that equation very carefully in our previous discussions also. So we can make use of this equation. pH is equal to Henderson and Hasse-Balch. pH is equal to pK plus log acid by base. Base is a conjugate. Base there. Acid by conjugate base. You can interconvert it out into different forms. So NH3 conjugate acid, and we got this as conjugate, Henderson's and Hasse-Balch equation can be used for this. So acidic property of a dipolar ion is due to a base, and basic property is due to a conjugate. Basic property due to carboxylate ion, and acidic property due to aminium ion, which is now actually a conjugate acid. Yes, technically obtained from a base. So the presence of this dipolarity, presence of this amino acid in the Zwitter ion explains these physical properties of high boiling points itself, and it is dissolving tendency in the aqueous medium or polar medium is respectively on the base of charges. Net charge on the molecule is technically zero, right? I said what will be the charge on a particular amino acid will depend upon the pH as well. It will depend upon pH as well. Let us see, if you alter the pH, means you add an acid or you add a base to it, what are the different systems, what are the different things coming to play? Let us see in our discussion now. You followed or not? Henderson-Hasse-Balch equation understood or not? Good. What are the properties of Zwitter ion and how exactly it behaves by altering pH? So, because why we have to understand this out, children? Because once you understand the Zwitter ions, because mostly in the competitive exams, they will not ask you, commonly they will not ask you different types of amino acids, different classifications of amino acids or proteins respectively. So they will ask many a times the question will be asked in terms of the electrical effects of amino acids, means how electrical fields do affect these amino acids respectively. As we have discussed it in carbohydrates, many things we are going to discuss with respect to this dipolar ion now. Okay, so keep it in mind. In aqueous solutions, okay, amino acids are in Zwitter ion form, but which amino acids? Neutral amino acids. Which amino acids? Which amino acids I am talking about? Neutral amino acids. Got it? So neutral amino acids are in Zwitter ion form in aqueous solutions. So in neutral pH, technically speaking, in a neutral pH, that is pH 7, we will have predominant Zwitter ion, but from which amino acid? Neutral. What does neutral amino acid mean? In which number of COOH groups equals to number of NH2 groups. So side chain R is a simple side chain which is made up of alkyl groups, which is made up of alkyne and alcohol groups, or which is made up of some other groups except NH2 like glutamic acid, except NH2 and COH, because in glutamic acid we have a side chain R which has COOH as one of the substituents, right? And in case of glutamine we have NH2 itself, right? So we are not talking about those amino acids. Keep it in mind and understand it well. We are talking about neutral amino acids. We have different neutral amino acids, like we have glycine, we have alanine, we have valine, even we have serine or serine, even per se we have cysteine. Even you have different substituents here. So what is the R group here? Rest of the things are same. In glycine, what is R? H. In alanine, in valine, in serine, in cysteine. In serine, what is it? CH2OH. In cysteine, it is CH2SH. Correct or not? You may have different groups here. So in alanine, we have CH3. In valine, you have CH2, CH2, so on and so forth. Side chains R. So they do not have side chain containing any NH2 or COH group, so they are neutral amino acids. Acidic amino acids, so you can classify at home different types of amino acids because it's already given in your textbooks. Also the structures are given for the side chains. Once you add the side chains to the amino acid, you will get aromatic aromatic amino acids as well will come into play, right? So this is the basic thing I'm talking about. So if you have a neutral amino acid, this is the property shown by it. Got it? So I will take one of the examples in the form of alanine or glycine, whichever you want. So to understand how exactly does it behave, I said if it is neutral, in neutral states, in aqueous solutions, amino acids will be found in which form? Zwitter ion form, right? Let us change the scenario and let us make it like this. In aqueous medium, suppose we have it in aqueous medium, so it will be in dipolar state, right? So what will be the molecule we'll have? We will have COO minus, then you got C alpha attached to H, then here because internal deprotonation protonation reaction, it will be NH3 plus, then you got side chain R. Got it? Now this is in aqueous medium. Where pH is almost 7, neutral. Technically it can be close to, because most of the amino acids in near neutral states are not having any net charge. Net charge is not there. So it is H, R, NH3. So I said it is which one? I have taken into consideration. So it is H, since it is alanine, so I got CH3 group as a substituent attached to it. Now what I do, children, is this is neutral, right? Neutral. We may assume the aqueous solution of alanine, will be neutral. Aqueous solution of alanine will be neutral, because with respect to water no reaction will be shown by NH3 and COH. We expect it to be so. But remember, aqueous solution of alanine is always acidic, and you can understand that why. You are getting NH3 plus from NH2, and you have already got COO minus. Now NH3 is a stronger acid because it comes from a weak base. So NH3 is a stronger acid, so it will be releasing H plus ions quite easily, and we will have many molecules, net charge of alanine in neutral state to be minus, because NH3 will show more reactions compared to that of CO minus, because it's a strong base. So it will be able to, strong conjugate acid. So it will be able to donate protons. Once it donates a proton, what will be it? C alpha. I'll not show the COH group here. So you will get, NH2. So what will happen is, then there will be many molecules, not all, there will be many molecules wherein some molecules will not have positive charge on this NH3 at all, because this NH3 is converted to NH2 by the release of proton. What will it do is, it will increase the H plus ion concentration of the medium and make the solution acidic. So aqueous solution of alanine will be slightly acidic only, not the neutral. Like the pH, we have kept it a neutral state. Now example, it's more molecular event here. Let us start talk about this more molecular event here. Okay, now neutral state. If I am increasing H plus ion concentration, so I am increasing H plus ion concentration, aqueous solution of this, I am increasing H3O concentration. So as H3O ion concentration is increased, that means H plus ion concentration has been increased. So we are doing what? We are increasing or decreasing pH? We are decreasing pH. So this direction, let me show. We are decreasing H plus. That means pH is being increased. So from neutral, that is 7, we are going to suppose 8, 9, 10 pH. So I am increasing pH in this direction. So increasing technically pH means we are increasing what concentration? We are increasing OH minus ion concentration is being increased. As this happens, there are two regions present here, COO minus and NH3 plus. Already OH minus ion concentration is higher, right? Is it or not? So if OH minus ion concentration is higher, what will happen is this NH3 will lose out a proton. And what will happen is, after losing the proton, it will convert to C alpha. You will have COO minus. Then after losing the proton, it will convert to NH2. Then you got H, you got R in the form of CH3. So you got an amino acid in which state? Cationic state. Which state? Cationic state. And you can analyze the result whether the particular amino acid is in cationic state or not on the basis of electrophoresis. So in electrophoresis, we have a tank which is fitted with a gel, two ends, there is a loading here. We are loading that particular amino acid. Say this is negatively charged, this is plus charged, so technically this is cathode and this is anode. Once you load these amino acids anywhere on that gel, whether charge is there or not, you can ascertain it on the basis of electrophoresis, because electrophoresis means moment of charged solute particles, moment of particle under the influence of electric current. So under the influence of the field, if this particle is charged 100%, it will move. In actual practice, how it is done? This gel which is kept here is put on pH gradient. What is here? pH gradient. pH gradient means from here, from anode. It's anode or not? So sorry, from cathode to anode. When you are moving from cathode to anode, pH is continuously increased. What's happening to pH is increased. Regularly it's increased. Altered. pH is altered. So if pH is low, pH is high, pH is intermediate, according to that amino acids will behave varyingly. Yes or no? Because I said on changing the H plus, there is change in the properties of this dipolar Zwitter ion. A dipolar or Zwitter ion. So this will be completely in which state? Anionic state. So at high pH, at higher pH, neutral amino acids will be mostly found in which state? Anionic state. And that can be understood by electrophoresis. Electrophoresis can easily tell us the molecule, the amino acid that is moving now is negatively charged or positive charged. Reason can be also understood that when OH ion concentration is increased, it is the conjugate acid of NH2 group that will show the reaction, and net charge on the molecule remaining will be COO minus, that net charge remaining on the molecule will be negative. Am I clear or not? Let us change it out. Come in this direction, children. So I am increasing pH. So here suppose pH is equal to 1. Highly acidic or not? Yes. So pH is 1. It is acidic now. Now what will happen is, so now what am I doing is, children, is I am increasing H plus ion concentration. That means pH is decreased. So when pH is decreased, what will happen to it? Already H plus ion concentration is more. There is an equilibrium. According to Le-Chatelier's principle, NH3, although it's a strong acid, it won't show reaction. Because already H plus is more. What needs to happen is this H plus should be used up. That can only be done when this H plus will be taken up by COO minus. So what you will get here is COO. This minus will donate an electron to the proton. It will convert to COOH. Then you get C alpha. Then you will have NH3 plus as such. Then you will have hydrogen here. Then you will have R here. So it will exist in which state? Cationic state. So we can write it down here, children. At low pH, neutral amino acid will exist primarily in the form of cation. Correct or not? So is it possible somewhere wherein a pH wherein the net charge on the molecule will be 0? That means it will have both plus and minus on it. That is possible. How? I said pH gradient. When you load an amino acid at a particular place, pH gradient is altered. It is supposed negatively charged somewhere positively charged, sometimes negatively charged. If it keeps moving on the pH, at low pH it will behave in one way. At high pH it will behave in other way. However, there is a pH where the net charge of the molecule is 0. That pH wherein the net charge of the molecule, that is amino acid, is 0. And it does not now move under the influence of electric field. We call that as PI. PI means isoelectric pH. So that is also called as PI or isoelectric point, IEP. So if time allowed me, in the future discussions, I will have a detailed discussion of this isoelectric pH and how it is actually used for the precipitation of proteins. Are you getting it or not? So altering the pH alters the properties of an amino acid. Yes, am I clear with the thought? Altering pH alters the properties of amino acids by making it either cationic or anionic respectively. So why I am emphasizing on these discussions, children? Because these are clear fundamental things. You need to comprehend out. It's not like you understand amino acids, these are made of these structures, so on and so forth. I have to explain out, as I discussed in carbohydrates, bond determines the properties. Similar way in these, how are all these particular things going to play an important part when we talk about the three-dimensional structure of proteins. So this is dipolar nature of what amino acids. Now one more important thing, children, that we can talk about. If we have an amino acid which has got more of carboxylic acids, more of carboxylic ends and more of NH2 group. So what will happen? Accordingly, you draw the structure, you will easily understand. So if there is acidic medium, which medium? H plus is more. Reaction will be shown by NH3, right? So accordingly, for the systems in which side chains are also made up of different groups itself, you can have a look how exactly the molecule will behave and what will be the net charge of the molecule at that particular time, right? So let us not elongate out this discussion more. So this is a basic analysis of the amino acids under the influence of electric field. And if a substance, if a molecule is not moving in the under the influence of the charge, then it means two things: either it does not have any charge on it, or the net charge of the molecule is zero. So that will be existing in the form of Zwitter ion, dipolar ion. And every amino acid, keep it in mind, every amino acid has varying pi, and that is understood why, because every amino acid will have this side chain made up of different groups itself, right or not? So behavior by the side chain with the altered pH will also be different. So different amino acids will have different PIs, isoelectric pH. It is this property that is made use to separate and purify amino acids as well. So in chromatography, if you have done it, in chromatography also we can find out on the basis of color development, we can find out when you are loading a mixture of amino acid, they will move differently on the paper. As they move differently on the paper, then at the end after drying, when you spray the chemicals on it, different colors will come into play, and you can relate it with the reference colors given. You can easily understand which has moved how much distance accordingly. But this one is on the basis of charge. So if there is no charge on the particle, you cannot determine or detect it by means of electrophoresis itself. Am I clear with the thought, children? Excellent. Right. So you can look on the side chain reactions also, side groups also. Now postulate will remain the same. Oh, clear or not? And here also, just basic representation, children. Here also, you have got alpha, beta, gamma, theta, eta carbon. Suppose we have C, then you got COOH primary, and then you have NH2, correct? Then you have H. So you can have a group like CH2, COOH, suppose side chain R is this. So it contains additional COH group. This is also COH group. NH2 will be found in the form of NH3 plus. This will be found in the form of COO minus. Now we have to see pH, whether this will be in dissociated form or not, right or not. If it is basic 100%, this carboxylic acid is stronger than NH3 or not? Oh yes, correct. It would be breaking down. Oh, basic thing I am talking about, children. If pH is altered, this will also be found in dissociated form or not? So there will be different reactions happening at COH and NH3 groups respectively, correct or not? That will do what? COH group you got here, CH2. This is what carbon? C alpha. This is called as beta carbon. This is called as gamma carbon. This is called as delta, so on as alpha, beta, gamma, delta, eta, theta, so on and so forth. Different types of carbons on the side chain will be present. Got it? So different reactions will be shown by the side COH groups also, or there will be side chain C alpha attached to some. Suppose CH2, C double bond O and NH2 group. And remember one more thing. Whenever chemical reaction has to happen, and if this carboxylic acid and both of these carboxylic acids are not in dissociated form, the first reaction that will happen will be at which one? Alpha carboxylic acid followed by this gamma carboxylic acid, because this will be stabilized by NH3 plus. Clear? So the carboxylic group closest to the NH3 group will be undergoing reaction first. Am I clear with the basic thought? Excellent. So this is the general discussion about Zwitter ions. Now these amino acids which we have taken into consideration, they will show different properties. Now in a solution, or these amino acids, when they are converted to dipeptides, means when two amino acids combine, dipeptide, tripeptide, tetrapeptide, oligopeptide, then you have polypeptide. Polypeptides are usually called as proteins. That will be the next discussion we will start. That is the bonding and structures of proteins. Clear, children? Good. Thank you.